Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on April 19th, 2021 at approximately 5:52 a.m. PST. Well, we got things turned around a little yesterday. So, back to work, shall we? Question for you. Have you taken a look at where your life is? Are you content with where your life currently is? Okay, that's the only question you have to answer for yourself right now. In all fairness, it doesn't make a lot of difference to me. What matters to me is whether or not my life is content the way my life is. Or more to the point, why I am content the way my life is. Okay, I was talking to somebody yesterday, and like I said, like I told you before, moving my coffee to the left-hand side was the best thing I could have done. If you've got all sensation in your limbs and they're just not responding the way you like them to, it's going to require effort to get them back in track. Okay, it's going to require repetitive motion to retrain them and to retrain the new cells how to operate. Now, have told me, doctors have told me, once nerves are damaged, they don't regenerate. But on the flip side, I'm also told that every cell in the body is replaced every 7 years. All the organs replaced at different speeds, but that's okay. The point being, if they're all replaced every 7 years, then clearly the potential for them to regenerate is right there. Because inside everybody is a perfect blueprint, okay, for a perfectly healthy body. Okay, in every single cell. So if you've got the perfect blueprint and you follow the instructions in the blueprint, you can rebuild a perfectly healthy body. Now, for the most part, this has worked really well, and we are getting better at it. Sometimes you require crutches, such as extra tools, extra supports, that sort of thing. For instance, try cutting a board straight without a saw. Let's see how well that works. They used to do it with a hammer and chisel, then they got to a saw, which was better. The human body is very much the same way. Now, the fact I can take my glasses off tells me that as I've gotten older, I've got my eyes working a little better than they were, which I was also told was not possible. Whatever the damage, if there is a nervous relay there, okay, if the limb still exists, rebuilding it is possible. Now, the doctors may tell you otherwise, and I do encourage you, talk to the doctors, get their expertise, get their support. The modern version of rebuilding bodies is through medication. Okay, now, I am actually taking the medication I require. Okay, or that the doctors have recommended is more to the point. However, I did not start taking it before I talked to the doctor about potential side effects or cross effects, and plus talking to the pharmacist, both of who have more education in that department than I do. Now, I know when my body feels right and when it doesn't. I don't necessarily know why. The state, that's the physical body inside. Now, the reality is, it is absolutely remarkable the similarities between the human body, human civilization, and the world, the universe at large. Okay, all of it is interconnected. And if you look at the way that the cells work with each other, that the nerves work with each other, expand that out to the communication lines and the superstructures in modern society. Your nerves are like your roadways, or your nerves are more like your telephone lines. Okay, they send the message from, if you will, City Hall, your brain, out to the rest of the parts of the world. Okay, your bloodline, okay, the veins and what have you, that's the roadways to get the information wherever it's going. Or you get the superhighway like the digestive system. But they're all interconnected. Now you expand a little further, and we have Earth, which is one little thing. And we have the solar system, which is the local community. We have the light, which transfers the information. Okay, light, gravitons, a whole pile of other things that move the information from one side to the other. Okay, and of course, then we expand out into little universes, little galaxies, that sort of thing. Okay, basically, they all are built very similar. Okay, so when you start looking at that, and you realize that we're dealing with a lot of different things. Okay, even the idea of combining the physical world with the spiritual one and the metaphysical one. Okay, when you look at the physical world, okay, at your body, at the people around you, okay, this is just one aspect of the world. Okay, now, geez, we say that a lot. Now, humans are one aspect. Okay, when you look at it, humans are not the. If you think about the logic behind it, humans cannot be the only race out there. That's like the blood in your heart itself going, oh, but there can't be anything else out there. The only place that there can be cells is right here in the heart. Scrap the idea that the liver's working. Okay, there can't be anything outside the heart. But if there's nothing out there, how does everything move? Where it comes to our office, like we've been rearranging things a lot lately, or organizing them in the first place. We're not entirely certain. Even to the point that we've got shelves over here that we have to reassign now because, well, they're empty again. And that is because we put this other set of shelves in that has a whole pile of other things in it right here beside. And you can't see that because, well, it's out of screen view of the camera. That's the word we're looking for. As you get things organized, we will get to the point where we can write over there, but for the moment we can't. Okay. This little notepad. Get a notepad together where you can get your life organized. I told you yesterday I had to get back on track, and I'm the only one that can do it. I had to get back on track for me to be content. Okay. Well, geez, it's amazing how often I say that word. Funny thing is, listening, watching what I'm doing, I've noticed quirks about me that I don't find them annoying, but I've never really paid attention to them before. But figure out what you're content with, and that's what you start moving. This idea of this list here is so that I can keep track of it. Not so you can, not so anybody else can. It's funny, I got asked yesterday, somebody contacted me and asked me how to work with ADD. Actually, I think they said ADHD. Okay, now ADHD, also known as Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Understand, I am not a medical doctor. Okay, the medical doctors went to school theoretically for years to learn things. They're not perfect. There is not a soul on the planet that is perfect. There never has been that I'm aware. Well, shouldn't say that. There was. Nope, even they weren't perfect when they got here. They were perfect before they got here, but not when. Okay, so to the best of my recollection, there isn't a corporeal body out there that is perfect. Okay, they all have their own hiccups, their own idiosyncrasies. But the reason I put this list together, that's where I was going with that. I told you yesterday that I had to get back in the routine of getting up, getting organized, getting on and doing these videos as soon as I get up, even before I get my first coffee drink. So, rest assured, meds are already taken, and here's our first coffee. funny thing about our coffee, though, when I'm making coffee, okay, most people will take a 12 cup pot, and they'll put 4 tablespoons of coffee into it if you're having just an average cup of coffee. I put 4 into a 30 cup urn. So really all I'm doing when you think about the coffee I drink, all I'm really doing is drinking 30 cups of water with a little bit of flavor in them. Ultimately, coffee is only a little bit of water with flavor in it. But with the little that I do, I don't have the other side effects. At least if I do have them, they're very drawn out. Now, for all I know, the fact I've been drinking 30 cups of coffee a day for, I don't know, probably 35 years, give or take, may have something to do with why my teeth collapsed. Probably. Ain't much I can do about that at this point. But I said I was going to get back on track doing this first thing in the morning. So here we are. Same thing for you. Get your list together. Get a list of things done, set up so that you know what you're working on. So that you can eliminate the things that you're not content with. I didn't like the fact I had a whole pile of things over here in this shelf that weren't necessary at where I could get them right away. So now I've got them over in this side. Whole pile of odds and ends that have been moved out of the way so I don't have to worry about them. And from here on out, the idea is to stay focused on it. Now, there are many of you that the first hour of your day is spent reading some sort of religious tome, some sort of spiritual guideline, whether you're reading it, whether you're sitting down listening to a podcast, doesn't matter. Whatever it takes to get your day started. Okay? The one thing we all have in common, when you first get up, regardless of where you wake up, okay, regardless, the first challenge anybody on the planet suffers from or has to deal with is get out of bed, get up, and get mobile. Now, the recommendation from my end is real simple. As soon as you wake up, once your eyes are focused enough to see straight, and you can feel your body sort of thing, get out of bed. Even if you're going, but I don't want to get up. And rest assured, there's a lot of teenagers that go, I don't want to get up. Probably not. But the reality is you cannot get anything accomplished until you get up. Okay. I mean, you can stare at the wall, you can stare at the roof and count the spots. Of course, in some people's houses, if you've got, for instance, an ant problem or a spider problem, you may find that you're staring at the roof and all of a sudden noticing little bugs walking around on, i.e. ants. And rest assured, they're annoying, but they are part of the cycle of life. They're part of the reclamation process of society, of the world. You get out of bed, go and do what you have to in the washroom, get back to your bedroom, to your bed, make the bed up, get the floor tidied up. Now, these are just recommendations. This is what I do when I'm first up in the morning. And of course, I go and grab my coffee. My next step is to come here. And oddly enough, it's kind of a strange setup, but for me, this first half hour does help get my brain working. So again, thank you to those of you that really encouraged me to get doing this on a regular basis before I got started with it. Thumbs up to you. Hopefully we get a thumbs up on the video. Okay, subscribe to our channel so that you can see the rest of the videos coming out. And I've got a bunch more I've got to get on track with. And I was mentioning that. I've got a couple listed on my list already today. Okay, that I will be dealing with. Okay, and that is simply a commitment to me to get things back on track and get them done. Once you've got that done, if you take that first hour of the day out to read a religious tome, to listen to a podcast, a spiritual podcast of some form, or just to sit and stare out the window and marvel at nature. If you're one of these people that lives in a place where you can go out, sit on your deck, and watch the waves come in. Absolutely, if that's how you get your day started, that's how you find your center so you can get on with your day. Do what you have to. Okay, the reason I hear people a lot of the time, talk about wealthy people on the golf course, by noon. Well, the reason they're on the golf course by noon, in all fairness, the really successful ones have put in half a day's work by the time that noon rolls around. Like in my case, now we're now what? 5:48. I wonder. I think we were up about 4:30 this morning. Oddly enough, yes, while I'm here, I'm actually checking that. I was up at 10 to 5. Okay, so I got up and took a little bit of time to get here, about a half an hour to get myself organized. And here I am. By noon, I will have had 6 hours and then some worth of work, worth of effort put in for the day. So if I wanted to go play golf, which rest assured is one of the last places you'll ever find me, unless I go out to talk to somebody, but since I haven't done that in the last 30 years, probably not likely. On the other hand, somebody that I used to work with at the golf club I used to work with ran into me the other day, and they remembered me. Now, in all fairness, I remembered their name when they told me, but I hadn't thought about the people I'd worked with for the most part on the golf club in years. Everybody you meet, they may remember more about you than you remember about them. Don't panic on it. This is normal. But you get a list of things, you get that list ready. Now, here's the thing. We look at the state of the world, and everybody you talk to figures the world is in a disarray. Most people will point the finger at somebody else, usually the politicians, the religious people, the so-called elite, and they'll say it's their fault. Newsflash, everybody is equally responsible. The people that are in power, like the politicians that are in power, it's people like yourself. It may not have been you personally, but people like yourself have ended up putting these people in power and trusting them. Well, the reality is, if they're not doing the job right, don't elect them again. But ignoring the election, now I used to be of the philosophy that where it came to elections, since I don't complain about any specific party, I figured if I don't vote, that's okay, because I was complaining about the whole lot of them. But the reality is, if you're not doing something, as the saying goes with society, if you're not part of the solution, if you're not doing something to help straighten it out, you're part of the problem. Okay. Now, for instance, where it comes to litter, if you drop a coffee cup, even if it's a biodegradable coffee cup, if you drop a coffee cup on the ground and you do not put it in a trash receptacle, you're adding to the litter around the world, in your neighborhood especially. Now, yes, if you drop it in the receptacle, it gets taken to a dump, and it still is pollution. But it's contained, it's controlled as best as we can at this point. Okay, society has not evolved to the point of fusion reactors where you just take the garbage, put it in, and it tears it apart into bits and pieces, but even then, it's reorganizing matter. Now, the reality is, matter does not get destroyed. Energy doesn't get stopped. Mind you, water doesn't get stopped. Take a look at the Ice Age. It got frozen solid and kept moving. Your life doesn't stop. Now, your vehicle may. For those of you that have gone the route of contemplating suicide, for instance, you may stop your life this time. But that's kind of like getting frustrated with your car and blowing the gun and blowing the engine on it. Okay. Or, getting upset with your car and slashing the tires. You may find that has all kinds of real negative effects on the mobility possibilities of your vehicle. But you, the driver, are still able to move. Okay, suicide has never accomplished a whole lot of anything. Technically, if you look in the immediate, technically it does stop you from having to deal with problems for the moment. However, and you're just going to have to take my word for this, if you don't remember your past lives, you're going to have to take my word for it that, or don't, that dying is not the end of everything. Okay. Now, I'm more than willing to talk to anybody about it. Okay, hence why, like, my life is very much like science fiction. Okay, more like science fiction than anything else by modern definition. Hence why I've mentioned before, I deal with alien races, non-human races, off-world and ancient. Off-world being they are from out of this world. And whether you believe there are things out there or not doesn't matter. It's kind of like you don't have to believe in gravity for it to play havoc. You don't have to believe in oxygen for your body to require it. So, I'm not saying you have to believe in it. But if you're of the mindset that it's possible, absolutely join me on Spaced Out Radio on the first Friday of every month. Okay, it's on the internet. It's on a number of terrestrial radios as well. I don't know all of them. But if you join me there from 9 p.m. till 11:30 p.m. PST, I've been there now just past our 6-year anniversary. Okay, now, I'm not saying believe everything I'm telling you. As a matter of fact, I'm not telling you to believe anything I'm telling you. I'm telling you do your own research. Okay, where it comes to the spiritual side of it, it all links together, as I said. The physical world, the spiritual world, all of it is part of the same thing. It's kind of miraculous when you look at it, that so many people can have so many different things. Now, here's the funny thing. Real short lesson in this one. Apparently, there are 23 chromosomes in the human genome. But each of those chromosomes have a myriad of differences. Now, the reality is that the scientists today have done a phenomenal job at understanding it. They can figure out what particular ones make your hair color, etc., etc. But you take a look at that and the amount of variation, and because of the galaxy that we live in, the amount of mutation that takes place is absolutely phenomenal. And here we are, the dominant, technologically advanced, surface-dwelling race on the planet. Okay, you know this because no other race on the planet has buildings that affect everything. Now, every single one of us is responsible for part of this. Okay, every one of us. It is not one person's responsibility. I mean, yes, there are people that have been placed in power. But frankly, it was the other people that elected them or let them get into power, whatever it was. Okay. But you still had a part. I loved the way I was talking to an insurance agent one day regarding a vehicle. And what he said was this. If you get rear-ended legally, it's usually pretty clear cut. Legally speaking, if you get rear-ended in a vehicle, then the guy running into you is responsible for the accident, which is correct. But as this insurance agency agent actually told me, he goes, however, realistically, you're equally responsible because you weren't paying enough attention to be able to potentially shift out of the way so he missed you. When I got rear-ended decades ago now, had I been paying a little more attention, instead of leaning back in my seat and letting the impact happen, and I subsequently didn't honestly get hurt from it, car got totaled, but if I'd have paid a little bit more attention, I'd have hit the accelerator, moved forward just enough that the car would have actually gotten all the way past me on the side before his back end caught mine. Okay, so was it partially my fault? Only in the realistic side. The legal side, the person doing the rear ending is definitively the problem. Okay, in most cases. There's always odds and ends. Now, of course, when it came to driving, I've heard people go, well, if they tailgate me, I'm just going to hit the binders. They're going to be responsible. And newsflash, if you suddenly hit the binders, you hit the brakes, you're the one causing the accident. They're driving dangerously, but you're the cause. Okay, this is what I mean by it's imperative you take responsibility for your own actions. See, much as my eyes are working better, I still can't see as well as I'd like to. And I've got my little clock down here to make sure I keep things on track. So, where it comes to correcting this world, we talk about it being in disarray, about the pandemic, about war, about religious differences. It is up to you, the individual, to start making alterations to your behavior, because it will have an effect on the people around you, especially if you're in a position of power. If you're standing in front of a congregation and you're talking to people about fear this, fear that, fear such and such, and make sure you give us all your money, sort of thing, you might be worshiping or you might be following the lead of somebody that doesn't have it quite all together. Now, I will tell you, there are so many different things out there. The reason for getting involved in some sort of religious community or some sort of spiritual community is for the sense of brotherhood, the sense of belonging. And there's a lot of families that could really use a sense of belonging. The world today has it's really become complicated from that end. And I'm just making a note for myself because tomorrow, when I get back here tomorrow morning, I'm going to talk to you about family, about how it ties together. Okay, about why it is so important to get back to the root. When a world is not running smoothly, including mine, okay, you go back to the basics. Go back to the cornerstone of what worked. Now, whatever country you're in, doesn't matter at all. Centuries back, there were little groups of people. Okay, society did not all of a sudden, poof, there it is. I believe that was a song. But it didn't just all of a sudden evolve. Even if we go back in the ancient times, it was told, it said the clans would never unite. Countries would never, foreign countries would never form. The UN was not possible. Well, newsflash for you, they all came into balance. And society, again, today, I've been told it will come to an end because people will not get the message, and again, this is how it's supposed to be. Well, no, how it's supposed to be is a whole different ballgame. Okay, but how you choose to make it is what is going to be the difference. So, tomorrow we're going to discuss family, and I'm starting to put things together. Like I said yesterday, I've got to get more organized on this so we can start seeing things shift. And I'm not talking just in my world, which is actually where this whole thing started. But I keep these as close to the half-hour mark as I can, so with that in mind, again, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and, absolutely, if you're looking to contact me, there's a list of contact numbers at the bottom of these videos, as well as a list of the different publications that you can order directly through me at this time. And until then, I'm going to call this a day, and I will talk to you tomorrow. But until we talk again, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.